How dare you speak to me like that?
I'm not trying to disrespect you, ma'am. I'm only trying to help.
Everyone thinks they know who I am.
You're carrying so much pain, and you don't have to carry it alone.
The moment Emma Campbell stepped into the Magnolia room, the atmosphere changed so quickly that even first-time visitors could sense it. The cheerful conversations faded into murmurs. Servers who had been laughing near the service station immediately returned to work. A bartender polishing wine glasses glanced toward the entrance, sighed quietly, and whispered, "She's here." Olivia Johnson noticed the change immediately. It was her very first evening working at the restaurant, and although she had spent the afternoon memorizing the menu and learning table numbers, no one had prepared her for the sudden wave of nervousness that swept through the staff. She adjusted her apron and looked toward the front door. A woman in her early 30s walked in with effortless confidence. She wore a cream-colored designer coat over a simple black dress, her dark hair neatly tied back, and every step she took echoed across the polished wooden floor. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't looking around. It was as though she expected the entire restaurant to move around her without being asked. The host greeted her warmly. "Good evening, Miss Campbell." Emma gave the slightest nod before walking toward the table beside the large windows overlooking the Savannah River. It was obvious she had sat there many times before. Olivia leaned closer to another waitress. "Who is she?" The older waitress, Sophia Brown, let out a long breath. "That's Emma Campbell." Olivia waited, expecting more. Sophia looked surprised. "You've never heard of her?" Olivia shook her head. "I just moved here from Georgia 2 weeks ago." Sophia almost envied her. Emma's father owns Campbell Industries. They're one of the richest families in South Carolina. Money has never been a problem for her. So why is everyone so nervous? Sophia looked around to make sure Emma couldn't hear. Because she's the most difficult customer this restaurant has ever had. Olivia frowned. "What do you mean?" "I've worked here 7 years," Sophia replied quietly. "I've seen grown men leave the kitchen in tears after she criticized them. I've seen managers lose their jobs because she complained to the owners. Every visit feels like an inspection." Olivia glanced back toward Emma. She looked calm, not angry, not loud, just distant. "It's hard to believe." Sophia gave a sad smile. "Wait until the evening is over." Before Olivia could ask another question, the restaurant manager, Michael Davis, approached. His expression was serious. "Everyone stay focused tonight." The staff nodded. Apparently, they had heard that speech before. Within minutes, Emma had already asked for a different bottle of sparkling water because the first one wasn't cold enough. She requested that the flowers on her table be replaced because one rose had begun to wilt. Then she asked for softer background music. No one argued. Every request was fulfilled immediately. Olivia watched the entire scene with growing curiosity. She had met demanding customers before while working in a small cafe back home, but something about Emma felt different. It wasn't just that people obeyed her. It was the fear behind their obedience. As the dinner rush became busier, Michael hurried toward Olivia. "I need a favor." She smiled. "Of course." Sophia twisted her ankle carrying a tray. "I need you to cover table 12. Olivia looked toward the windows. Emma Campbell's table. Sophia's eyes widened. "Michael." "I know," he interrupted gently. "But we don't have anyone else." Sophia turned to Olivia. "You don't have to impress her." Olivia laughed nervously. "I wasn't planning to. Just take her order. And don't ask personal questions." Olivia nodded. Carrying her order book, she walked slowly across the dining room. She could feel dozens of eyes following her. The closer she came, the quieter the restaurant seemed to become. Emma never looked up from the menu. "So," she said calmly, "they've hired someone new." Olivia smiled politely. "Yes, ma'am. My name is Olivia. I'll be serving you this evening." Emma closed the menu and looked at her for the first time. Her expression remained unreadable. I hope you're quicker than the last waitress. I'll certainly do my best. For a brief moment, neither woman spoke. Olivia noticed something unexpected. Despite the expensive clothes, elegant jewelry, and flawless appearance, Emma looked tired. Not physically, emotionally, as though she hadn't enjoyed a peaceful night's sleep in years. While waiting for Emma to decide on her meal, Olivia's eyes drifted toward a small silver locket resting against her collarbone. Unlike everything else Emma wore, it wasn't luxurious. The chain showed signs of repair. Tiny scratches covered its surface. Someone had clearly treasured it for a very long time. Without realizing it, Emma gently rubbed the locket with her thumb. The movement wasn't deliberate. It was instinctive. Olivia remembered watching her own mother do the same with an old wedding ring after her father passed away. People held onto precious memories in quiet ways. Something about that tiny necklace didn't match the woman everyone feared. Instead of seeing a billionaire's daughter, Olivia suddenly saw someone carrying a story no one else had taken the time to understand. She spoke softly. "That's a beautiful necklace." Emma's hand immediately covered it. Her eyes narrowed. "It's old. It must mean a lot to you." For the first time that evening, Emma's confident expression wavered ever so slightly. Only for a heartbeat. Then the walls returned. "You're here to take my order," she replied coolly. "Not to ask questions." Olivia lowered her head respectfully. "You're right. I'm sorry." There was no embarrassment in her voice. Only kindness. Emma studied the young waitress for another moment. Most people became nervous after being corrected. Olivia didn't. She simply waited patiently with her notebook, offering the same warm smile she would have given anyone else. Something about that unsettled Emma more than rudeness ever could. Finally, she ordered grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, and herbal tea. Olivia repeated every detail carefully before leaving the table. As she walked back toward the kitchen, she couldn't explain why her heart felt unexpectedly heavy. Everyone else saw a difficult customer. Olivia had seen something different. Behind Emma Campbell's cold voice and guarded eyes, she had caught a glimpse of quiet loneliness. She didn't know whether she would ever see the woman again after tonight. But deep inside, she couldn't shake the feeling that their first conversation was only the beginning of a story neither of them expected, a story that would challenge fear, uncover long-buried wounds, and prove that even the hardest heart can begin to heal when someone chooses compassion over judgment. Olivia expected that her first encounter with Emma Campbell would also be her last. Customers came and went every day, and she assumed the wealthy businesswoman would soon forget the name of the new waitress who had served her dinner. She was wrong. 3 evenings later, just before sunset, the front doors of the Magnolia Room opened once again. Emma walked in wearing a navy blue coat and carrying a leather handbag. As soon as the hostess recognized her, the familiar tension spread across the restaurant. Sophia glanced toward Olivia. "She's back." Olivia looked up from arranging silverware. "So?" Sophia gave a nervous laugh. "So, she's asking for you." Olivia blinked. "For me?" The hostess offered another server, but Emma said she'd wait until you were available. That surprised everyone. Emma had never requested a particular server before. Olivia washed her hands, straightened her apron, and walked toward Emma's table. "Good evening, Miss Campbell." Emma barely looked up. "You're late." Olivia smiled politely. "I'm sorry for the wait. I was helping another table." For a moment, Emma simply stared at her, almost as though she expected an excuse or an argument. Instead, Olivia calmly poured her water and placed the menu in front of her. "The chef has a new seafood special tonight if you'd like to try it." Emma closed the menu. "I'll decide after I ask you something." Olivia nodded. "Of course. Do you always smile this much?" The question caught Olivia off guard. "I suppose I do." "Why?" Olivia thought for a second before answering. "My grandmother used to say that smiling costs nothing, but sometimes it's worth everything." Emma gave a quiet scoff. That's optimistic. It helps me through difficult days. Emma said nothing more. She ordered her meal, and Olivia carefully wrote everything down before returning to the kitchen. As she left, Sophia hurried over. What happened? Nothing. Nothing. Olivia nodded. She asked why I smile. Sophia shook her head. I can never figure that woman out. Over the next 2 weeks, Emma returned again and again. Sometimes twice in 1 week. Every visit followed the same strange pattern. She would ask for Olivia. She would make a few demanding requests. Then she would watch Olivia closely, almost as if waiting for her patience to disappear. One evening she insisted that her tea wasn't hot enough. Another time, she claimed her vegetables were overcooked. On another visit, she asked Olivia to replace her glass of water 3 different times. The kitchen staff grew frustrated. I don't understand why she keeps doing this, Chef James muttered.
Michael simply sighed.
I don't think it's really about the food. Olivia wasn't sure either. Yet she refused to become angry. Whenever Emma criticized something, Olivia listened carefully, apologized if necessary, and quietly found a solution. She never argued. She never rolled her eyes. She never complained to her coworkers. That puzzled Emma more than anything else. One rainy Thursday evening, the restaurant became unusually quiet. Heavy rain kept many customers at home, leaving only a handful of occupied tables. Emma arrived shortly after 7. Her clothes were damp from the weather, and tiny drops of rain clung to her hair. Olivia greeted her with the same warm smile. You got caught in the storm. Emma looked out the window. It was unavoidable. I'll bring you some hot tea while you decide what you'd like. I didn't order tea. I know, Olivia replied gently, but I thought it might help you warm up. If you don't want it, I'll happily take it back. Emma didn't answer. A few minutes later, Olivia returned with a steaming cup of chamomile tea. She placed it carefully on the table. No charge. Emma stared at the cup for several seconds. You didn't have to do this. I wanted to. Those 3 simple words lingered in Emma's mind long after Olivia walked away. Nobody ever seemed to do anything for her unless they expected something in return. As the evening continued, Olivia noticed Emma wasn't eating very much. She simply pushed food around her plate while staring through the rain-covered windows. You seem distracted tonight, Olivia said quietly while collecting an empty dish. Emma looked at her. You notice too much. My mother says people usually become quiet when something is weighing on their hearts. Emma almost smiled. Almost. You talk about your mother often. Olivia nodded. She's my best friend. You're fortunate. Something about the way Emma said those words made Olivia pause. There was sadness behind them. Deep sadness. Before Olivia could respond, another customer called for assistance. When she returned several minutes later, Emma had already paid the bill. But something unusual remained on the table. Beside the receipt sat a folded piece of paper. Olivia opened it after Emma had left. It contained only 6 handwritten words. Thank you for the tea tonight. There was no signature. There didn't need to be one. Olivia smiled to herself before carefully placing the note inside her apron pocket. Over the following days, little changes became noticeable. Emma no longer complained about every meal. Instead of criticizing the flowers on the table, she quietly admired them. She began saying please and thank you more often. The staff noticed immediately. I think she's changing, Sophia whispered one afternoon. Michael smiled. I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but I think you're right. Even Chef James admitted the difference. She actually complimented the salmon yesterday. Everyone laughed because none of them could remember Emma ever complimenting anything. Despite these changes, Olivia sensed there was still something hidden beneath Emma's calm appearance. Whenever the restaurant became quiet, Emma's fingers always found the small silver locket resting around her neck. She would hold it gently, staring into the distance as though remembering someone she desperately missed. Olivia never mentioned it again. She knew trust couldn't be rushed. Sometimes the kindest thing a person could do was simply remain present until another heart felt safe enough to speak. Neither woman realized it yet, but the distance between them was growing smaller with every conversation. What had begun as a chance meeting between a frightened new waitress and the city's most feared customer was quietly becoming something neither of them expected. A friendship was beginning to grow, not because of wealth, not because of power, but because one young woman had chosen compassion over fear, and one lonely heart was slowly discovering that kindness still existed in a world she had long ago stopped trusting.